All right, welcome back, everyone. I got a special guest on today. I got Jack Stewart, another Pittsburgh investor, and he's part of the One Rental at a Time community. So, welcome, Jack.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, man. I've been waiting to connect with you and get your story out there. I'm glad that we got to connect, and you reached out to me. So let's get this started. So, why don't you tell my audience a little bit about your backstory, maybe what your portfolio looks like, and how long you've been in real estate?
Okay, yeah, I can definitely do that. So it started probably about 2 years before I ever bought a place, and I got stuck in analysis paralysis. And a guy who was mentoring me at the time told me that I was getting to a point where I just need to get in, just get in. He's like, you're not learning anything more because you're just cramming too much, trying to cram too much in your head, and you just need to get your feet wet. So I bought a rental. He was a home inspector, so he went through and did the home inspection for me and put in the tenant from hell. And I bought a second rental. He said not to, probably within like 3 months of the first one. And the second one was actually paying the mortgage on both of them for a while. Remodeled all the units over the course of 3 years. And now I'm buying a double duplex.
Nice. So let's kind of go back to maybe dig into the analysis paralysis side of it, because I think that's what a lot of people struggle with when they're first getting started. So was it because maybe you didn't trust the numbers you were using? Like, what would you say was the holdup?
My biggest holdup was that there was no one in my family that did it. None of my friends did it. I was completely by myself. And I was doubting myself in that aspect because there's no one other than the guy that I talked to. But even then, like he was the only person I knew in person that did rentals.
Oh,
So
okay.
I kind of just, I just felt like I had no support.
So even though he told you that you better start moving, I guess in a sense, what was that kick in the ass that you got? Like, what made you pull the trigger? Because I see a lot of people in your position, even though you tell them, hey, you know what you're doing, you can run the numbers, and you just got to do it. And there's a lot of people that are still sitting on the sidelines.
Eventually, a friend of mine came up as I was talking to him, the mentor. A friend of mine came up and he was talking about how he's like, yeah, John. He's like, you just go out and you do everything. He's like, you do whatever you put your mind to. He's like, you just jump right in. But like he kind of walked in, he said a few things, said that, then he walked out, and the guy mentoring me was just like, he's like, yeah, except for real estate. He's like, you've been talking to me for a year and a half now. You haven't bought one place. He's like, there's been tons of deals we've gone over that made sense. And I just literally 5 minutes beforehand went over another deal with him. So I went out and bought it. I was like, he's right. I just need to get into it.
So was that first property just smooth sailing once you purchased it?
Oh, oh no, he missed things. It cost me about $22,000 to get it rent ready. It's supposed to be a turnkey. It wasn't close. It I ended up putting the wrong tenant in. I went off of referrals instead of doing my own due diligence on the person. In 3 months, they caused about $15,000 worth of damage to the place, plus everything from spaghetti stuck to the ceiling and dried up cashews stuck to the wall, and they rubbed their feet against the wall and had like turned the almond color paint black.
And so what made you keep going? I mean, that sounds like a lot of struggle in that first purchase you had.
One rental at a time. Yeah, I literally just bought his book as I was going through the whole the whole uh the whole remodel thing, and as she was getting kicked out. And anyway, listen to Michael Zuber's story, especially when he had a bad tenant, the first rental, but everything was going wrong, and just everything he had to do to get up to that point. And I was thinking to myself as just like, I think this is meant for me. I was like, look at Michael. I was like, he's where I want to be, and his story is almost identical to mine up to this point.
It really does, right? That first property that he had, he talks about the tenant and there's things that you can't control, right? So and like you seems that you've learned from that, right? Like you're saying, like you would do your due diligence a little bit better and find a better tenant possibly, or do your homework a little bit better. But it's a learning process for a lot of us, right? We've all made a lot of
Yeah,
mistakes. And I think that's, why I enjoyed, connecting with you and hearing your story and how you're still pushing through, you're still looking for deals, you're still trying to find, like you're saying, you're working on a double duplex or something right now, right? And
yep.
you're still moving forward, right? So a lot of people would have quit by now, I think, with the struggles that you've had in the beginning. Have you ever gone back at maybe looked at some of those deals that you may have passed over when you were in that analysis paralysis phase?
You mean like after I bought the rentals?
Yeah, like after you got started, did you ever like go back and say
No,
it's kind of just no? Okay. I was just
no,
one.
because I know how I am. I see what it does to my fiance and stuff. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of wish I coulda, shoulda. So I just put a nice little black box and put it in the back of my head. Don't worry about it. There'll be another deal later. I only need one or two deals a year to retire. I don't need to buy 50 within a year.
Do you feel like the analysis paralysis really held you back as far as you were maybe overthinking things? Like I think that's what a lot of people struggle with is that, once they get the first rental, then they realize like some of these numbers that they've been crunching and analyzing might be a little bit overkill in a sense.
You know, yes and no. I think for me that I would say probably I want to say like 6 months to a year's worth of analysis paralysis. Even though I was still doing the work, still crunching numbers, I think it was just me mentally preparing myself for what was about to happen. Just like because because once I stepped in, it was a huge life-changing alteration, and I think it that extra year gave me the mental preparation to go down the journey that I'm now on.
I love it. You mentioned you have a fiance. Is she on board with this
Yes.
whole journey that you're on?
Oh, so funny story about that. When she knew I was slightly off for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like there's something I wanted to talk to her about, but I didn't want to bring it up. Just because at the time I was watching Bigger Pockets and the wife was never on board. The wife's never on board. How do I get my other half on board? Yeah, I was just like, oh, she's never gonna go for this. Like bigger or Bigger Pockets had stuck in my head about how she's not gonna be on board. 3 weeks of this went by where I was like, I don't know how to break it to her. I don't know how to break it to her. I don't know how to break it to her. 3 weeks of that went by, and finally I said, "Hey, there's something I want to talk to you about, something serious." And she comes out, she's like, "Yeah, what do you want to talk about?" It's like, "I want to become a landlord and start buying rental properties." And she's like, "That's it? That's it? That's what you've been worked up about for 3 weeks now?" I was like, I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I thought you were breaking up with me."
So, but is she on board though? That's my
Yeah,
question.
yeah, she's on board. She's just like,
Okay,
"I wanted to do this years ago before I even met you, but then I didn't."
nice. So yeah, so let's maybe dig into that, like you said, that first property was somewhat of a struggle. Now is it all stabilized? The tenant, good tenant in place. You kind of altered course for that
I want to
one.
say it's probably 95% settled in. There's some work from that property I've learned more from. Yeah, it's not the cash flowing cow I thought it was going to be. However, I've learned so much from that one property. I probably have an associate's degree at least off of one property, and the second one got me through another semester working towards my bachelor's degree.
I can totally relate. Yeah, I think that's, why I always tell people, that first one, we're not trying to, I mean, if you get a home run, great, right? But a lot of it is we just want to get on the base path, get a base hit, get started. And there's so much learning involved, right? I mean, I think that's
Well, Well,
and
yield wise, it still is a home run, but it's just every penny I've stuck or made on it has gone right back into it. And it was
yeah,
just nonstop from hiring the wrong contractors to now have or to having, which then led into foundation issues that then led into, bad plumbing, terracotta plumbing, um, roof repairs, remortaring the building. Like it was just nonstop. It was just nonstop.
yeah. So it's always a process, right? Because even like I tell people, the first few that I purchased kind of tricked me. Like, they're pretty, like you said, they're base hits, they're solid, everything went smoothly, tenants fine, and then that's kind of maybe, I got overconfident, and that's why I scaled, a little quickly. And as we all know, problems do happen, right? No matter, you could vet your tenant as best as possible, and they still could turn out to be a shitty tenant. And then there's always issues,
Yeah,
and at some point you're going to have to figure out how to deal with it. And I think, but without getting started, you're never going to get to that point. So I think that's why it's super
correct. Yeah.
important just to get on the board and get started and start that learning process, because there's so much to learn. I mean, like you're saying, there's contractors, there's plumbing things, there's electrical, air conditioning. There's so many, even just like how you handle the money or the rent coming in or dealing with your tenants, because you're self-managing, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So now you're trying to, you know, kind of get your property rent ready for rehab, but you're also trying to figure out how to be a landlord from dealing with your tenant standpoint. So how has that been for you?
My biggest problem is I always become too friendly with the tenants, and that's why I actually create a artificial barrier. I just tell them I'm the property manager, and I need to go talk to the owner.
Sounds a little
And
bit like Dion.
it does. But I actually got my idea before ever watching Dion's channel.
Nice, but his
And
part, but his partner's a cat, I believe, right?
his partner's a cat.
Yeah.
Mine is a invisible Japanese person. He
Okay.
needs a translator. So there's a long delay. I have to bring his friend along and have to translate to him, and it's a whole process.
Do you actually take someone there with you? No.
What's that?
Do you actually take someone with you when you go look at the like at like a partner, or to be impersonating your partner or the owner?
I don't. No.
Okay, I thought that's what you were heading down, that you actually take someone with you. But yeah, I mean that's smart, right? You kind of put a barrier, like you said, in place, and that's probably super helpful. And what's been the other challenges, maybe trying to self manage?
My biggest problem is that I've always been a very, kind-hearted person, so it's very easy for me to get taken advantage of. And just sticking to the lease. The lease says this, and that's it. There's no if, ands, buts, exceptions, nothing else. I don't care if you have toe jam fungus, you know, and your wee wacky woohoo. It's just it doesn't matter. This is what the lease says. We're sticking and binding to the lease. There are no 39 cats. There are no dogs that are not proven to that aren't a service animal that aren't supported by the vet that don't have insurance on them. That there's none of that. This is what the lease says. It's in black and white. It's front and back, 7 pages. That includes the lead pamphlet in there, and that's it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think that's something super important, right? Is sticking to the lease, and it's going to save you a lot of problems probably down the road, right? Instead of trying to,
Yeah, because every time I've ever altered from a lease, it has bit me in the butt. And another thing I've learned is when you have those people come in and they're like, "Oh, we're under this horrible situation, and you know, we can't quite come up with a whole rent. Could you do like maybe $100 less?" I've found that to be a huge red flag. Don't bring those people in. Don't. I never fell for the trap of people waving cash. I had someone literally waving cash around in my face above the rent value, and my fiance, she was like, "Oh, you need to put those people in there." I was like, "No." I was like, "No." So that is worse than the people that want to pay me $100 less. They're going to be evicted in 3 months.
Yeah, great advice, man. So what, what would you say, I guess, like, so your properties are all traditional financing or DSCR lending, or what kind of financing have you used?
They're all traditional. I'm probably more likely next year going to start maybe looking more into DSCR loans.
Cool. Yeah. I think if you can, take advantage of the traditional financing, and then yeah, the DSCR is always an option down the road. It's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
tool.
they're definitely better. But it's just when you start to get bigger, your debt to income ratio starts to come off a little bit. And if you want to move a little bit faster, you kind of need to use a DSCR loan versus
Yeah.
a conventional. I personally think I'm at the point now where it's quickly getting to the point where I'm probably going to end up doing one DSCR loan or private money loan and one conventional so I can keep house hacking places.
Yeah. So how long have you been in Pittsburgh?
My whole life.
So why don't you tell my audience a little bit about why you like investing there, and also why I'm probably investing there. But what do you like about Pittsburgh?
Uh, the skyline, there's trees, there's a river or two, maybe three.
But how's the real estate side of it? I mean, is properties dirt cheap? Are we talking 500,000 median single family home? What are we talking about?
Whatever you want to find, you can find it here in Pittsburgh. If you want super high end, $5 million, 10, $20 million homes, you can find them. If you want if you want homes, there's homes here for every budget. You can go and buy a house that's, you know, just out of that's sitting next to a crack house for 13,000. You can live next to um you can go live in Mount Lebanon or Fox Chapel and buy a $20 million home. It's all what you want. There's a house for every price range in this market.
So I heard house hacking. So you're house hacking currently?
Yes, the double duplex is going to be my first
Oh, okay.
house hack. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
pretty excited about it.
Let's walk through that process. Then you found, is this an off-market deal or you found it through the MLS?
It was an MLS deal. Yeah. Um, it it kind of was a mental mind shift that I came up on because Dion said on his channel he was just like expanded on my area that I was searching to 45 minutes or whatever it was, and I had a conversation with Cynthia, and I was just like, we're not finding enough houses by sticking with these three zip codes. And she's like, well, that's what Michael Zuber did. I was like, we're also not in the same market as him. I was like, I think we should use like where she lives to where I live and set like a center point and do like a 45-minute radius. I was like, because and cover, I think it's like almost 15 different zip codes because it's just we weren't moving. Like we were stuck. Trying to focus on those three zip codes was not, you have like one or two properties come up on the market a year, and there's no reason for that. Like this is a huge area.
So this
That's even
property
like
that you
the
found, was it sitting on the market for a long time?
Yeah, I can't remember how long it was though. It was at least 150 days, 120, 150, something like that.
And how long were you tracking it? I'm sure you saw it, you know, 70 days sitting on the market or 90 days, and you were just kind of watching it for a while.
Actually, I saw it, and probably within 2 weeks, I decided to talk to other people that invest closer, like in that zip code, and they're like, "Yeah, I've seen it, but I'm not really sure about it. They'd come down about 15, 20,000, but they seem to be stuck on that number." And I asked my realtor, I was like, "Can you put an offer in for?" I was like, "I don't know, maybe $50,000 less." And he's like, "They're not going to talk to you." I was like, he's like, "Are you sure you don't want to do like maybe 10,000 more?" No, no, we'll do 50,000 less. And they came back. So it was listed for 250. I said 200. They came back like literally within the same day, 230. Then I said two or 210 because I knew for my numbers to work, I just need to be less than 220. I that's why I told my realtor, it's just like if they say anything less than 220, just take the deal. You just call me up and tell me we bought a house. They came back at 215,
Hmm,
and that's where we settled. Because I was at
nice.
that point, I was kind of getting nervous. It's just like I don't want to come back and end up just losing the property altogether. I was like for them to knock off $35,000. I was like, I'm plenty happy with that. I mean, I know it needs a roof. It has one run of knob and tube wire, and that's very easy access. Like I don't have to rip out one wall, no nothing. It's just I unscrew them from the outlet, I pull them down, I run new wires down, I run them across the basement into the fuse box, boom, done.
So when do you close on this one?
I was supposed to close tomorrow, but some things came up, and it looks like it's going to be Friday, or not the following Friday, so next week.
And both sides are vacant, or are you gonna be living in there soon and then doing the rehab on once, or they both need to do rehab?
So there's two duplexes, but they're connected. They're all under the same roof and on the same parcel of land.
Okay.
And the one all the way on the left, that one's rented. It's immensely under market value. So I'm going to have to do a binder strategy. But I don't want to do the binder strategy until I fix the one right next to them, which is the worst unit out of the bunch, because it's basically the exact same thing. That one that they're in needs some work too. It has a few little electrical problems. I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm kind of hoping to be like, hey, you guys are immensely under market value. Here, and I'm going to do exactly Dion's binder strategy, but instead at the end going, what seems fair to you? I'm going to say, what seems fair to you? Also, why don't you come in and check this place I just finished remodeling? You guys have some problems here. It's like this place is freshly renovated. I was like, I won't charge you market rent. What seems fair that we can both agree on? And I'm hoping to try and get $200 more out of them. It'll still be $200 less than market value, but that's all I need in order to get the numbers to work right. It's just for them to come up $200
Hmm,
because
yeah.
I can't go in there and raise it $400. That would almost be double what they're paying.
Wow.
So I can't consciously do that, and I don't think it's fair for them when they've been paying the same rent for 20 years. I mean, I know if I was to kick them out, they're not gonna find another place for that price. So it's better for me to slowly bring them up. And plus, they're an older couple, so I think they might be on a fixed income. So I don't want to just shell shock them. So I figure if I can get them up to 750 and then every other year raise it like 3%, then I'm okay with that. Even if it's every third year. But I made the numbers. I made my numbers when I made my offer according to them only being coming up a couple $100 for that.
Yeah.
And I'll be living in a different one, the next one over, which that one needs work, but I'm going to prolong the work on that one as long as I can because I'm there. I don't care if I have to look at brown and metal cabinets and that kind of stuff. And the one all the way on the right, that one's completely done. That one's going to be rented for about 1350, 1400. It's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath.
Yeah, that's some great advice. I think, what you're doing is the way to do it. If you get into some sort of house hack and even look for, like you said, you're looking for properties that have been sitting there for a while with motivated sellers, and you kind of stuck to your what numbers you needed to make it work, and you weren't really willing to budge on it. So yeah, it sounds like you're doing great things. And so when do you expect to move in? What is there a target date when you're going to move in?
I want to try and move in within the 30 or like after the 30, but before the 60 days in order to get in there after a closing. So if it's from Friday next week, probably a month after that. because I want to. The only thing that I want to remodel it is going to bother me is I want to redo the bathroom a little bit because it has a modern tub, but it has like the shower curtain that you pull all the way around you with the
Oh,
shower head
okay.
way up above. And I want to put a modern shower in, update the toilet because it has just one of those cheap I don't even know the brand, it doesn't matter. But it's like one of those ones you buy for like $120 that's gonna be nothing but a problem. So I want to put in a good toilet and then I'm gonna start working on the other unit.
Cool. How are you gonna find all this time when you're also trying to build like a YouTube channel, right? Aren't you working on a YouTube channel that you got?
Yes, Jack's Business Talk. I'll send you the link because there's not a whole lot of videos, so I'm a little bit hard to find. And that way you can put it down in the description if anyone's interested in watching. I don't have a whole lot of content out there right now, but I'm going to talk about different articles that I find interesting in our area, in the Pittsburgh market. I'm going to talk about different things that are going on, how I'm trying to progress. One of the big things I'm working on right now is called chunk chain or chunk money. That's it.
Hmm.
And I'm going to go through what that is and how to work on that. And I'll tell different stories, like or on Friday I'm going to have a video come out talking about how my one rhino was attacked by 1,000 bees.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into that a little bit. So you sent me a message about that. You're trying to come up with a thumbnail for that, and so what happened there?
I still don't fully understand what actually happened, but I got a text message and a call from the other tenant in this one place, and they're like, and the one guy's just like, he's taking pictures and he's laughing. He's sending me all these pictures of the bees, like there's thousands of bees on this house, and his dad lives next door, so he was just doing it from his front porch. And the other tenants call me. He's like, I can't get out of the house. He's like, there's bees all over the place. And I went on Facebook under the local community bulletin board, and literally everyone on that street said that they were watching this big giant swarm of honeybees going down the middle of the street, and all of a sudden they went up into the sky, and then they came down and settled on my place.
Is, is that like common in Pittsburgh? I have no idea.
It's not common. No,
Okay.
I've never heard of such a ridiculous thing in my life.
Huh. And you said what? How long were they? They were gone within a day, though, right? You said, is that what?
Yeah, so several beekeepers came out. They collected all the or as many bees as they could. Like there's still tons and tons of bees. Like, but they collected as many bees as they could, and as weirdly as they came, the next morning when the one guy went to go to work, he took a can of bee spray with him because he's allergic to them. He said he didn't see any, and then when he came home, when they both came home later that day, they're telling me like the bees are gone. So somehow in the middle of the night that they packed up and left.
That is a wild story, but hopefully you never have to use the AI images you created. Hopefully you never have to use them for one of your thumbnails.
Oh, I generate them. I'm gonna tell the story. It's gonna be good.
Oh, you still okay? You're still gonna tell this? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still gonna tell the story. It might just be that little bit that we just went over, but I'm still gonna tell the story.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know if I'll ever hear that story again on my channel, but yeah, the AI images you came up
I
with is
found out,
great too.
in case you're ever wondering, I found out that honeybees have more rights than squatters.
Really?
Yeah, I called an
Wow.
exterminator. They said they couldn't do anything because of it being honeybees and because they're a protected species. So I was literally stuck, and there's not a whole ton of beekeepers in the area. So I found out very quickly that honeybees have more rights than squatters. Like squatters are actually easier to deal with, or I should say they're easier to prevent.
Oh,
Honeybees, there's nothing you can do to prevent them, and once they're there, they're there.
that is good to know. Yeah. So, let's kind of wrap things up, but maybe what would be like for new investors, what would your advice be to them to get started or help them get on the property ladder?
Get off of bigger pockets. Yeah,
Hmm.
I spent too much time. Bigger pockets have me worrying about too much stuff that just isn't relevant. Get on other people's channels like Michael Zuber, yours, Dion's. You need to get over analysis paralysis. You need to have people in your corner that you can reach out that are more than happy to help and talk to you. Those guys, and you will too, I'm certain you would too, are more than happy to reach out and talk to someone so you don't feel isolated on your own little island.
Great advice. I think that, yeah, I totally agree. A lot of these bigger channels, um, you know, I think Bigger Pockets has changed quite a bit from the beginning. But yes, a lot of these bigger channels, it's become more marketing, right? They're trying to promote certain things, and it's really not for the beginner anymore. And
No,
I think
I
that's
don't even when I watched last week an episode of Bigger Pockets, the one with David Green, they restructured the whole thing, so I can't quite keep track of the channel names and stuff. But it's not the same. It's not the same. I can't say. I don't know who they're going for. They're almost going like they're trying to make an income off of YouTube, and they're kind of getting clickbaity type of stuff. The only one I kind of enjoy listening to anymore is what's her name? Mindy Jensen
mhm,
or
mhm. Yeah,
yeah, she's about the only one I'll listen to sometimes here and there. But I
yeah,
just kind of feel like the other ones are kind of doomish.
yeah. And even her, she's not
Like
really
they
real estate, yeah. She's more
no,
like
she's not.
finance, like get your money right kind of thing. So I think
Yeah,
that's super
yeah.
important.
But I just feel like a lot of the stuff that Bigger Pockets puts out is for the clicks. And it gets people overwhelmed about stuff that they don't need to worry about in your first few rentals. Am I going to have to eventually get an LLC? I'm sure I'm going to have to. I don't need it on the first one. I don't need if I'm doing conventional. I don't need if I'm, by myself. Those things you don't have to worry about. You know how to prevent a lawsuit and from losing everything? Be a good landlord. Take care of the stuff.
Great advice. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of other safety measures, right? You can put in place besides making more work for yourself by starting an LLC. So yeah, great advice.
Yeah,
So
and plus that's more overhead too.
yep, yep. So wrap things up. But should people invest in Pittsburgh? Do you think Pittsburgh is a great market? What do you see coming Pittsburgh's way?
I think it depends on where you want to be in Pittsburgh. There's a market for everyone. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. Um, I mean, I could think of two people that invest here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, it's a great market. I mean, it's one of the few places in the country that I've found that you can actually buy a single family house and it cash flows.
Very true. Yep. I think it's very kind of under the radar. More people are finding out about it, but
Hmm.
I'm glad I got in when I did. I'm sure you're glad that you guys started when you did. But yeah, so yeah, this was fun. This was fun getting your story out there. Hopefully, people can go like and subscribe your channel, and hopefully you can get that bee or honeybee video out so people can check it out and subscribe to your channel, man. Thanks for doing this.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I hope you'll have me back.
Of course, man. Yeah, maybe I will do a live one right in Pittsburgh one day.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, man. Thanks for doing this, man. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye.